Psalm 23. God has set a table for two, one chair for himself, the king, and the second one, believe it or not, is for you. But of course, the enemy wants a seat at the table too. Anxiety wants a seat, envy wants a seat, worry and frustration want a seat. But don't give the enemy a seat at your table. Look up, go up. You're invited up the mountain of God. Move towards infinite power, splendor, love, and beauty, healing and restoration. When we gaze upon the Almighty, we are changed by the captivation. Empowered to take every thought captive in the battle of the mind. Shame is silenced by his glory, and our future redefined. So draw near to Jesus. The shepherd is good. Our God is faithful. Take the place prepared for you. And don't give the enemy a seat at your table.
Marriage. Of course, marriage is not your normal bump and face kind of relationship. It brings both excitement and disappointments. If you find yourself married in community of property and often delayed in your business transactions and dealings, worry no more, because Masinya Attorneys uses the law to help you change from in community of property to out of community of property and vice versa. Call Masinya Attorneys today on 084 383 7747. We will sort you out with a high court application, and of course you get to keep your spouse. That's Masinya Attorneys on 084 383 7747.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on Solomon's Temple. My name is Solomon Izang Ashams. It's so great to be with you at this time, and I hope you're doing very well, yourself, your family, your work, your studying, whatever you're involved in. May the grace of God continue to be with you. Yeah, so I just want to do a quick one now because I have to be back at 8 p.m. South African time to do an interview with somebody who was a sangoma, and now she is into full-time ministry. She's an apostle. She used to be a sangoma. So a sangoma she used to be a babalao. She used to be somebody who is a witch doctor, or somebody who's a traditional healer, that kind of thing. But there's quite a lot as a traditional healer that it isn't right. Not everything that a traditional healer does that, is totally, unbiblical. But obviously there are spiritual things that is brought in that contaminates that. And she was very much into it, making so much money. But today she's totally on the other side, and God really revealed himself to her, and she crossed over. So I'm going to be doing that at 8 p.m. So please make sure you stay tuned. So I'm going to be, I see quite a lot of people here. Brooksy from New Jersey. Thank you so much, Sherry from Maryland. Great to have you here. Great to have you here, Jenny's. Quite a lot of Americans here. Thank you, Pearl. You're also here. Thank you, Bernard. Calvin, watching from what do you say? That's the capital of Georgia. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Good to have you here. How do you say the capital, actually? Tbilisi. Is that what you say? Eswatini is also here. Choni, I see you. Thank you, Mpilo from Kempton Park. Evelyn, as usual. And Dennis, you're here and you were fresh. Joseph from Nairobi. Yeah, Kenya. Yeah, we're going to Nairobi, Kenya. Talking about Nairobi, Kenya. Judges say, hi, Uncle Solomon. May God continue to empower you for this selfless job. Watching from Spain. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Christina, thanks a lot. And Kenzie. Kenzie is also, Kenya is your home. Oh, wow, that's great. Zoe, good to have you here. Well, let me quickly just go through this news, actually. Sometimes, like I said, a lot of the stories that I get to discuss here that we get to look at, quite a lot of them are actually people bring that to my attention. It's like, hey, Solomon, have you seen this? And I know when people bring that to my attention, it says that they want to hear what I have to say about it. Because obviously you have the story and you read the story, so that should be enough. But they bring that to my attention and says, Solomon, can you talk about this, please? Uncle Solomon, can you talk about this, please? And that's how we learn. I love to listen to other people also. What are they going to say about this issue? How are they going to analyze it? What sort of commentary, either biblical commentary or some sort of political commentary? What are they going to say about it? That way, we're going to be able to learn from each other, especially in this and through this platform. So that's what I get from quite a lot of people. And somebody sent me this story about a bishop who is right now in court in Kenya. His name is Bishop David Muriithi. David Muriithi. He has been a bishop for a very long time. He's a very renowned and very popular bishop, in Kenya, well known. He's well known by many, and people respect him. And he runs a ministry called House of Grace. House of Grace. So very much well known and well accepted also. He hadn't had any sort of like scandal until recently, right? He hadn't had any sort of like scandal until recently. And when this came out, it was between him and another woman who he had gotten pregnant in 2018, right? So now in 2018, he was actually celebrating his 27th wedding anniversary, marriage anniversary or wedding anniversary. So in 2018, he was 27 years in marriage. But then behind the scene, he was seeing someone. He was seeing someone. So this is Bishop David with his wife whilst they were celebrating their 27th anniversary. 27th anniversary as the husband and the wife. He posted this on his social media page. He loves to use social media. So this is somebody who has been married, a bishop who has been married for 27 years. And then the 27th year, I don't know what had happened to the 10th year or the 12th year or the 15th year or the 17th year. Maybe he was still seeing other women by the side. But in 2018, he went into a relationship with another woman and got her pregnant. So you could see that no matter how long you've been a bishop, no matter how long you've been a Christian, no matter how long you've been a pastor, no matter how long you've been going to church, you can still fall into sin. And not just fall into sin, a sin that would damage your reputation totally. A sin that contradicts your integrity as a man of God. Because you would expect that men of God should be the last, to get into these things. But no, I think like right now, quite a lot of men of God are actually the first to get into this thing. It seems like they enjoy it and they're beginning to normalize it. So that's him with his wife. So this is not someone that is like young. This is somebody who is like in his 50s or maybe close to 60s. And this is not someone who is unmarried. He is married. Even if he was not married, the fact that he got her pregnant in itself is wrong for a leader, for a church leader. And he has a beautiful family. This is him, his wife, and 2 of his kids. Obviously, you could see that they're over 20. The girl just graduated recently. Can you imagine what this is going to do to the boy? He's going to be a father someday. He's going to be a leader someday. how would that affect his role as a husband and as a father and also a leader? One way or the other is going to affect it until he chooses to say, look, I'm going to do this thing the way God expects us to do it and not the way my father did it. So you see the implications of having a parent committing this kind of sin. Sin is the same. Any kind of sin is the same. But you see the consequences are different. Some sin, the consequences affect your family members, even though they are not the one that committed the sin. How is that going to affect his wife of 27 years? Okay, now they've been married, what, 30 years? So he's been married 30 years to her, because that was in 2018 when he was 27 years of marriage. Now he's 30. How is it going to affect her? How is it going to affect the daughter when she goes out and chooses a man to get married to? How would she hold a man? Would she be suspicious of a man? Would she be expecting that, well, this man is going to cheat on me anyway? Because my father, who was a bishop and he was supposed to uphold the integrity of the marital bed, failed to do it. And sadly enough, he came out and trying to be defensive. And he got involved with this woman in 2018. This is the woman, they call her JM. So she took him to court. She took him to court because she felt he wasn't playing his part. She got pregnant in 2018 and she gave birth in 2019. I mean, he created a whole lot of stories. He didn't see her, they broke up, and the next thing she said she's pregnant and all that kind of stuff. Needed a DNA test and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys watching, you don't want to be the other woman. You don't want to be this woman. It's unfortunate when two people are in a relationship, especially adults like this, they know what they were going into. It isn't a mistake. So the first thing is when you're a bishop and you find yourself in this kind of situation, do not go to your church and say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. No, bishop, you didn't make a mistake. You sinned. Let's call it that way. You sinned intentionally, calling somebody, going to them, meeting them, spending time with them, having fun with them, things that you should only do with your wife. Bishop, that's not a mistake, Bishop. That is sin at its best. So if I find myself in that situation, the first thing is to accept that. Sin. So you hear a lot of men of God coming to the pulpit and saying, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. If you say you make a mistake, you're trying to make it a bit light. No, this is not light. This is a heavy sin we're talking about that affects not just you, it affects your wife, affects your children, affects the other woman, affects another newborn baby. And you're saying you made a mistake? Because I've had a lot of them coming to say, I'm only human, I made a mistake. And they expect to continue. We're going to get to that because this bishop is supposed to have stepped down, but he's still there. He's still the general overseer of Grace. What do you call his church again? Of Grace, House of Grace. Right? He's still there. Well, this lady was the one that got entangled with him. And because she said he wasn't participating financially, she decided to now escalate the whole issue to the courts. So the courts could actually give them some sort of a legal settlement. And when she got to court, this was what she said. The lady who is identified as JM told the court through her lawyer, Danson Omari, that she met the married bishop in 2018 and started an extramarital affair that resulted in the birth of a son in January 2019. So behind the back of your wife. What did I just say? Behind you. behind you. Behind your wife, you were entangled with another younger woman, a bishop, right? So she said, this is what she named. So he gave his own affidavit, obviously. Bishop David Muriithi. Affidavit comes days after he was sued with the woman in question, demanding 100,000 Kenyan shillings monthly in child support, 1,000 Kenyan shillings for her salon, 5,000 for entertainment, 3,000 for utilities, and 2,000 for toys. Judy Mutave, that's her name also, was also seeking 20,000 for food and shopping, 35,000 for rent, 11,000 for clothing, and 10,000 for house help. So she has some very serious demands here. There. I don't know what the Kenyan shilling is to the dollar, just so we can try to convert it into a different currency, wherever part of the world that you are right now. But obviously she has demand, and it seems like he has taken care of her well enough, and she's used to. And the court would have to consider the fact that he had gotten her used to living a certain privileged lifestyle, and he has to maintain it. And the court will consider that. Or his family, his wife and 2 kids are living a privileged life. So why can't he provide the same kind of privileged life for her? So, but he was arguing and saying, no, he can only afford 10,000 Kenyan shillings. Right? So do the total of this. So we have a 100,000, we have 1, we have 5, we have this, so we have 120, we have 140, we have 175, 185, 195, almost 200 Kenyan shillings. That's what she was demanding. But he came and was like, no, I cannot actually meet all of this. I lead just by support from people. So I can only afford 10,000 Kenyan shillings as child support, and then I'm going to pay for the kids' school. I don't have enough money. I just depend on people. So I may have, I may not have, but I depend on people. But here is the big question, right? Here's the big question. The big question is, first we've acknowledged that his actions was wrong. He totally got himself entangled in sin, not in a mistake, in sin. So let's call it that way. I have sinned against you. Forgive me. Not I have made a mistake. Don't make it mild. But what should a bishop do when this whole sort of mess comes out to the surface? Because he wasn't ready to make it public. It was because she took it to court. That was how it got out, and the media and people were aware of it. He was actually asking the court to not give the media the privilege to attend the hearing. So you see, he's trying to kind of gawk and trying to kind of block what's going to be said between her and himself, maybe between their 2 lawyers. But should he continue to lead whilst this is going on? Because in Africa, we don't know the whole concept or the whole importance of stepping down when you're being accused, rightly or wrongly. For it's very serious. For his case here is rightly. For a very serious sin, the sin of adultery, there needs to be a stepping down. Because come to think about it, I wouldn't have my confidence in a bishop, my leader, who is entangled with another woman that is not his wife of 30 years. I totally would change camp, especially with those kind of attitude that's coming from him. It shows that has he truly repented, or he just want to make sure this thing goes away? So first and foremost, there needs to be a stepping down. In Africa, we don't see a lot of stepping down when it comes to church and this kind of situation. Stepping down is also very good for the bishop, because when you get yourself very much in sin, a sin of adultery to this extent where you have a lady and then you have a child as a product of that relationship, you yourself is damaged. You yourself has been messed up. Your relationship with God is messed up. You can go out and preach and all that kind of stuff. The gifts are going to be there, but your relationship with God is messed up. So there needs to be some sort of restoration, because you have departed from God, from the Holy Spirit, and from the teachings. That's why you got involved in sin, in that kind of sin anyway. So there needs to be some sort of restoration, bringing back, trying to make it be the way it was before the sin came in and disconnected it. So there was a disconnection. And a lot of leaders don't understand why you need to step down. I always recommend, if a pastor is caught, especially in the sin of adultery, you have to step down for a minimum of 1 year. You need to be able to, it's a very deep thing, because you can continue, but you haven't dealt with it. And it's going to show up. You can continue being the pastor or the bishop. It's going to show up here. It's going to show up there. And sadly, we have to protect the congregation and other women also. So you need to step down. But in Africa, no. It's not a concept. It's becoming more and more right now, where, especially Pentecostal churches, I mean, with the Anglican churches or the Baptists or the Methodists, you know, I mean, they cover things up too, but at least once it's made public this way, they know they will have to deal with it, or they're going to lose, you know, confidence of the people. But there needs to be that sort of, because you was looking at somebody who is broken. Only a broken person would go ahead, leave his wife, and have a relationship with another woman that produces a child. Only a broken person would do that. So you have a bishop. I know we are all broken people, but there are different levels of brokenness. When you have a bishop who did that, so his level of brokenness is deep. Is deep. Is deeper than maybe another bishop who's struggling with anger, who needs anger management restoration. But a lot of charismatic Pentecostal churches in Africa, we tend to, because the leader is the Alpha and Omega anyway. You know, in churches like Anglican, they put pressure. You need to step down, because if you don't step down, you're damaging yourself, and then you're damaging the church, and you're bringing the church into disrepute, the name of the church into disrepute. You're making people to lose confidence in the church, lose confidence in Jesus. You see, I have to represent Jesus to the best of my ability. And my lifestyle choices, not what I preach, not what I say. People want to see, they don't just want to hear. People are getting tired of hearing. They want to see the fruit of the Spirit. They want to see how you repent when you go off track. Are you going to set an example? But he went out there and just trying to say, well, he made a mistake. It's just church. It's supposed to be for people who make mistakes and all. You can use all scriptures to try to justify that. You know, and if you look at somebody who had a relationship with a woman in 2018, and now he produces a child, to be honest with you, I can tell you my perspective. What I think is, she is not the first woman. Even after her, there is another woman. Even before her, there are women. So it shows that he has a very big problem, terrible problem. So you have to put your relationship with God first over the church. Forget about church. Forget about being a bishop. Forget about pastoring. That will come later. Go sort out your soul first. Go sort out your life first before you come back. But a lot of them love the pulpit more than they love the relationship that got them to the pulpit. They love the pulpit more than they love him that gave them the authority to be in the pulpit. In an era where, I don't even, but that fruit, the fruit that this bishop has shown, it is terrible. And I actually, yeah, so Delicious Delicacy is actually saying something here. Let me put it out here so you can see it. You know, she's saying that, oops, where did I put that? You know, she's saying that, hello, Uncle Solomon, Bishop Muriithi has been accused of changing the women like the suits he wears and taking excessive alcohol over a couple of years. This time it caught public attention because of the lady suit. That's what it is. So we know these things and we don't do anything about it. So he's been doing it for a long time. It's obvious. That's why I said it wasn't a mistake. It was a sin. Don't come around and say it was a mistake. Don't come around. Lillian says, Joseph, who here was his step down, Alianza from a rebellious place, he was at, so a couple of people in Kenya there, stepping down. Stepping down is the best thing. Christine says, he can't step down. If you hear him claim that those correcting him are self-righteous, you see the way they try to justify it. Because he's been living in this sin of adultery for a long time, he thinks it's okay. It's not enough for me to step down. Guys, the sin of adultery would destroy your testimony. Everything that you have, every prayer that you have prayed goes to waste. It's like you have to go and start all over again. Do you have the energy to start all over again? Sin takes you very down. And trust me, coming up, when God showed me that revelation, I told myself, in my lifetime, it's my wife and my wife only. I don't have the energy to go and be with another woman and then start all over. You can bring another woman, put a gun in my hand and say, hey, be with her, or I'm gonna whatever. I'll tell you no. Do whatever you want to do. Because it's no. Don't do that to your testimony. Do not do that to your testimony. It's not worth it at all. Jonita says, repent like David did. Exactly. Exactly. Bible is very, very clear in 1 Timothy 3:2. It says, now a bishop must be above reproach, married only once. Let's stop there. Married only once. Is he married once? No. Marriage is not just you say, this is my wife. Whenever you have a relationship, intimate relationship with another woman, it's like you married them. You married them. You married them. Another version says he must be a husband of one wife. If you're a husband of one wife, what are you doing with another woman? Doing things that only you and your wife are supposed to be doing. So we need to hold our leaders accountable. Yes, we need to pray for them, because there are some of them that you know they don't enjoy. They're not going to come out and defend it like Bishop David. They're not going to come out and say it was a mistake like some do. There are some that we need to stand with them, pray with them. It's their Achilles heel. It is the cross that they need to carry. But when you're doing that over and over again, sorry, I don't think prayer is going to work for you. Only you deciding that you want to turn around. That's what's going to work for you. Thank you, guys. Let me just go off. I'll be back here at 8 in about an hour. I'm going to be speaking to somebody who was a traditional healer, an African traditional healer, a Sangoma. But today she's serving the Lord. So we're going to listen to her testimony, and we're going to hear how she got there and what God is doing in her life. So please make sure you join me in an hour's time at 8 p.m. South African time. God bless you. May we continue to hold our leaders accountable. May you continue to be a morally strong leader.
Marriage. Of course, marriage is not your normal bump and face kind of relationship. It brings both excitement and disappointments. If you find yourself married in community of property and often delayed in your business transactions and dealings, worry no more. Because Masinya Attorneys uses the law to help you change from in community of property to out of community of property and vice versa. Call Masinya Attorneys today on 084 383 7747. We will sort you out with a high court application, and of course you get to keep your spouse. That's Masinya Attorneys on 084 383 7747.